Chapter 27. One Piece. Another dull thump against the front of the Jeep brought Dylan's attention back to his driving. He honestly didn't care if he was shoving the sick out of the way or running them over, but still, he made almost no headway. The sick surrounded the car at least 3 deep. Some infected ran from the battle toward them, weapons drawn. The sick worked themselves up into a frenzy, their angry fists pounding the windows. Sky hovered over Jesse. "Oh Dylan." Sky's tone held a quiet desperation. Dylan shot her a glance and a quick shake of his head. Sky thought she would lose everyone she loved today. That wasn't going to happen. "It's okay. We'll think of something. I have something." Trisha fumbled with her jacket pockets. "I grabbed it as I flew down the stairs." She thrust her hand up between the 2 front seats. In Trisha's hand was a flashbang. Dylan let out a relieved chuckle. "If I didn't already have me a woman, I'd take you on, Trisha." "Oh, you sweet talker, you say that now." Dylan rolled down his window as much as he dared. Even so, hands grasped and pulled at him. He yanked his arm away and threw the explosive as far to the front of the Jeep as possible. It sailed over the 6 heads. The noise and light startled the horde, and they quickly moved away from the source of it. It created a pathway for Dylan. He took advantage of it and gunned the Jeep. Tires spun, and smoke drifted over the car before it took hold and jolted forward. Jesse's eyes widened as they raced through the sick. "I never seen them so close. They're disgusting." He wrinkled his nose at their foamy mouths and noses, blood-stained clothing and dirt-covered bodies. "Look at that one over there," said the boy Jesse rescued. Jesse climbed into the back seat, and the boys pointed out the grossest examples to each other. Sky whispered to Dylan, "Maybe we should keep them separated." Dylan's heart sank. "Sky, whatever's gonna happen now, is gonna happen. They both got exposed, nothing we do now is gonna stop anything." Sky's lip quivered. She caught it between her teeth as she turned her head to look out the side window. Dylan took her hand in his hoping he gave her some sort of comfort. Trisha watched the 2 of them and smiled. "So, you got yourself a woman now, do ya D?" "Yep, you're fresh out o' luck Trish," Dylan laughed. Trisha returned his laughter. "D, we've been running around together since babyhood. You always felt more like a brother to me. I'm real happy for the 2 of you." "Thanks Trisha, that means a lot." Sky tightened her hold on Dylan's hand and smiled. But Sky was still shaken, and when a tear landed on Dylan's hand, he wasn't surprised. "Hey, it's all over," he reassured her, "we're all safe now. You did good, real good." "It's not over, and you know it," Sky said as they pulled into the parking lot where the rescued group watched the battle below. "A battle still in full swing. You're going to order me to stay here while you go back down there." When they left the car and saw the chaos below, he reached for Sky, but he didn't answer. There was nothing for him to say. She was right. Sky pulled her hands away and tightly wrapped her arms around herself. "I almost lost everything down there, and you want to go back. How can I watch you do that?" Dylan took a step toward her and gently ran his hands up and down her arms as he stared into her eyes. "They need me. It'll be okay. I'll be back. I promise." "You can't make that promise." "I'll do everything I can to make it back here in one piece. That I can promise." Dylan gave her a little tug so she would let go of herself and wrap her arms around him. Sky allowed it, snuggling against him for a moment. Then she stepped away. "Go. Leave now before I don't let you go." Dylan yearned for her, to draw her back, and feel her warmth against him again. But if he did, he wouldn't want to go either. Dylan gave her a slow nod and walked toward the car. When he looked back over his shoulder, Dylan saw her staring back at him. Sky's lip was caught between her teeth. She was trying to be strong for him. Dylan never had anyone care about him this much before. His chest ached as he moved away. Would this always be the way of it? Him walking away, leaving her crying. One thing that comforted Dylan was that she had the knowledge to take care of herself now if need be. He'd given her that. A month or two ago, he would have been sure his death would mean hers, but she had proven herself. If the worst happened to Wade and him, Sky and Jesse had the cabin and knew how to care for all of Wade's off-the-grid equipment. They could trap, and fish as well as scavenge. They would go on. A few of the adults volunteered to go back down for the fight. The trip back down was solemn. These people were not warriors, and they were frightened. They would have walked away from homes, but there were still people trapped in the town. Some of them were friends, some family, but all needed out. They were determined to help them. When Dylan reached the battle, to his surprise, it had swung to the town's favor. Many of the infected were zip-tied and lying face down in the grass beside a box truck. A few deputies still chased stragglers trying to run off. Seeing Dylan, Tom asked, "Tricia? Up at the overlook. Sky got a bunch of people up there out of the way. I left the kids with some adults up there for safekeeping. Can't say I mind just turning around to head back up and get them." "What happened here? When you caused all that ruckus getting out of here, it divided the infected. We got a jump on them." When all was accounted for, Colton had lost half its inhabitants, which had been meager to begin with. Some had been murdered by the infected, 2 had died in the fires, and many had been bitten by the sick. All of those bitten had survived the airborne AG flu, but no one was sure what happened to those who survived that infection but were bitten. Tom was willing to wait it out and see, but the townspeople clamored in fright. They decided to take those bitten to the containment center along with the infected and sick. More than likely, they were now doomed to a long, painful illness before the relief of death. But if they somehow survived, they would be welcomed back. Dylan and Sky offered to stay to help clean up, but Tom refused them. "You go on ahead to the store. That's important too. The weather is bound to turn soon. Mind if I send a couple of people up with you? Might as well get some things we've been needing too." Dylan readily agreed. "The more people we have with us, the better." Tom nodded and put a hand to his hip. "And Sky, I'm gonna talk to the town, but I'm thinking it's past time for us to move up to Coles Mountain."